Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Tapped Out Wrestling Podcast. I am, of course, Nick McDaniel, and as always, I am joined by my buddy Myron.
Hello, wrestling fans. Once again, if you can see me now, I am not homeless. This scruff on my face is my quarantine beard, but that's almost over, thankfully. So we'll go back to full speed. I want to try to catch my breath and get through this show today. I've missed everyone. I regret not being able to be at some shows, but I love y'all and I miss y'all. And let's talk about some wrestling.
Yeah, man. I mean, we're going to get fired up. We're going to talk about, unfortunately, as we always say, fortunately, there has to be a record day at some point during the week. And when we when you do the show, like we do, it's like, okay, well, do you do it after the show? Do you do it after this show? So there's always going to be something that is like a week behind. So we record on Tuesdays typically, Wednesdays on occasion, depending on scheduling. But it's always before Dynamite and NXT, so it's always, the week behind thing. It drives me nuts, but, hey, look, if you do it on Thursday, well, then SmackDown's a week behind. If you do it on, whatever, it's like, oh, well, if you do it on, if you do it Sunday or Saturday.
We tried every single date there is to release a show on, but this is the only one that works best to keep all as up-to-date as possible. Also, we get a week to study over the Wednesday night stuff to be able to get it right. And there were some great things done right this week, but we're going to go ahead and just start with last night.
Well, first and foremost, we record on Tuesday nights for a reason. It's so our Patreon members at patreon.com/tappedoutpod get the show early. And something new this week, I did put up the show notes early. So basically, you would have seen the show notes hours before we even recorded. Once we got the show basically put together, you can catch those over on patreon.com/tappedoutpod if you're a Patreon member. Of course, you get the shows early, et cetera, et cetera. There's cool stuff you can get. You can rack up merch, if you're a member long enough, all that good stuff. So we appreciate all the support to every guy, every lady that is members over there. Again, patreon.com/tappedoutpod.
Thank you. Thank you, every single one of you people.
Absolutely. We couldn't do it without them. They're a huge, part of how the show gets, basically, it's funded. It's how it's paid for.
They are a part of the people that helped us have our most viewed show of all time last week. And I do appreciate that, people. Thank you.
Oh yeah. Well, let's bring that up. I mean, it's, last week was the absolute most watched / listened to show. Facebook alone, that was kind of our big jump. We noticed 73,000 views on Facebook. We appreciate that. It's getting out there, and we appreciate everybody that watches. Which was funny because a month and a half ago we were struggling with Facebook to let the show even stay up up. They were taking it down and stuff, which is kind of ironic, but it is what it is. But thanks to the fans, and we greatly appreciate it, like you said. But let's get on to business, man. Talk about you brought it up. We're going to start with last night's episode, which, of course, depending on when you listen to this, Monday Night Raw was Legends Night. Brought in all the, hey, listen, we're fully aware that it's a ratings grab.
Yes.
Clearly. That's what it's designed for. They bring in the old timers, bring in the legends, and they hope they pop a rating for it, right?
Yeah, you get Hogan back. Hogan's 67 years old and does not understand why people don't like him. The young guys don't like him anymore. Well, he's almost old enough. Well, he's old enough to be my mother or father, but he's almost their age. So the thing is, he's disconnected from reality, like older people get sometimes. I think it was a good show. I love seeing Flair still, Sergeant Slaughter, Mickie James. Well, I guess she's a legend now, unfortunately. Melina looked great. We got to see a lot of people we haven't seen in a long time. I mean, Tatanka? Seriously? I thought that was Wahoo McDaniel he was done up so. Seriously. With the bronzer and the full headgear, he looked like a different person.
Alicia Fox,
she got more ink. I think she should be working again.
I do too.
I always thought she was terrific. But it was fun. It was a nostalgia run.
It had its pluses too. I will tell you this, because I know, one of the knocks, by the way, there were lots of good, we thought, on the show. We're going to kind of break some of those. We're going to kind of cover some of those, which isn't something we normally do, but I wanted to make specifically a point to do it was because typically we bash these episodes. They tend up, everybody's just like, oh, this is negative, negative, negative. Well, you brought up the women's tag match. You were a huge fan, of course, of the women's tag.
Very good match. Very good match.
Riddle versus Lashley was good.
Mm-hmm.
We're going to go in a little more in depth on the Drew McIntyre Keith Lee thing. But I'll tell you something that people brag about all the time about the Attitude Era. One of the great things about the Attitude Era was they had a story that they would weave throughout the entire show. I don't know, kind of like they did the Randy Orton thing where he kept confronting legends and, throughout the whole thing. And, so there was that.
Part of the ears. Ugh, that always gets me when he gets a hold, because that's not the first time he's done that.
Right.
Oh, God, that's scary when he gets his ears like that.
It's funny because people forget, like, on one hand, it's not the first time he's done it, so it's kind of cool when he does it.
Mm-hmm.
But there is a guy or a kid, or there's a wife, whatever, it's the first time they've seen it.
Yeah.
So that's why you do it over and over and over, because it's somebody's first time, right?
Yes.
Which is cool. But obviously the main event, Drew McIntyre versus Keith Lee. First of all, I really liked the match. The match was really good. We both loved the match. The only thing that I said that was kind of funny between the two of us is I made the joke of, okay, there were moments in that match. I know people lost their shit when Keith Lee's name was attached to, like, oh, hey, he's being sent back down to the Performance Center to learn how to work like a big guy. Okay, well, this match could probably point to a couple moments when I said maybe this is why he was sent back down to be some polish. Yeah. He's a great talent. We've seen him in person, by the way, up close and personal.
Fell in my lap, scared the hell out of me. I was like, get on. But yeah, it was quite a thing to have him fall on top of you. You don't realize how big the guy is, and he moves like a luchador, which is crazy.
It's crazy and it's good, but should he? That's where we go back to wrestling like a big man. Don't go down to the PC, work with Mark Henry a little bit, and learn how to work more like a Mark Henry, in my opinion. Yes. But that's just my opinion. And you know what? You break that Spanish fly out at a WrestleMania or SummerSlam, or you break out.
I'm pretty sure he bumped his head.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure both said. Yeah, make those moves. I mean, I know it was a big match. This was a big match. Had all your legends watching. You wanted to make it go over, but let's hold some of that off. Let's get this stuff polished and finished up. I know he's a great talent. I know he's going to be around for a while. If he starts working like a big man, he'll have a longer career. Because falling at that size is going to hurt a lot worse than falling if you're 180 pounds.
Yeah.
So get around there, do some more, change your style ups, and you'll have a longer career. I think it'll be better for everyone. And a big, fast big man is going to be something that I always have work in the wrestling business.
Mm-hmm. And then, of course, at the end of that match, one of the big, good or bads, however, depending on what side of the fence you sit, Bill Goldberg returns. They had all of the legends on the stage. Comes out and he cuts a promo, by the way, that didn't make a lot of sense. And, of course, today it comes out that the reason why it didn't make any sense was they were short on time. Drew McIntyre was supposed to cut a promo that would somewhat explain what Goldberg said. That didn't happen because of time. And apparently, there was a Glasgow kiss that was after they went off of the air because of timing, etc.
I really appreciate you finding that out and explaining it to me, because it didn't make a lot of sense. Besides, here's Bill Goldberg. I'm going to get a championship match. You don't respect people. And that's what it came off as to me. Understanding that there was a little bit of stuff left out that could have made it work better makes a whole lot more sense now.
You're right. And I know there's a meme going around, and it was like, hey, how do you guarantee you a title shot? It was win, Money in the Bank, win Royal Rumble, or just be Bill Goldberg and come down to the match. Couple things I wanted to address here, and this is going to be, I'm going to cut it as short as I can, but I did want to ask you, because I know this sounds goofy, but somebody's like, well, explain to me what he deserves the title match. And I was like, I raised my hand. Why? He never got a return match after he lost his last year.
Yep. World's greatest wrestling statistician.
I mean, it's not a great answer, but it is a logical answer.
It's a very logical answer, and I have to agree with you on that. But that's a wrestling thing, and I don't even know if we do that anymore.
Right.
But why is everybody so excited to see Sting come back? And Sting needs to wrestle again, but you see Goldberg, it's like, Boo, cold turds. You know it. What's the difference, Nick?
What? No, that we discussed that a little bit, before we went on air, and I said the same thing. I'm like, listen, we Goldberg, is, oh well, his last match wasn't good, so he shouldn't wrestle. Sting should be allowed to go out on his own terms and have a good match because his last match was bad. Undertaker should be allowed to have another match because his match with Goldberg was bad. Okay, well then Goldberg deserves a chance to come back. Now, first of all, for the record, his last match where he lost the title wasn't like bad. I mean, in the grand scheme of that's kind of the crazy thing that doesn't make sense. But whatever. It was with Braun Strowman. It was pretty quick and it was to the point and got over. So my thing was, like you said, it's kind of hypocritical to say, by the way, I'm glad they're both back. So this is kind of stupid for me to even be arguing, but it is what it is. Sting deserves the chance to come back and have a match and whatever. And, okay, I just worry about his health, but if he's in good enough shape and he's ready to go, all right, kudos, work your match.
Well, we've got less Sting. We've had less Sting since WCW than we have Goldberg. We've got a lot of Goldberg off and on. Maybe once or twice a year, we've got Goldberg embarrassing himself at the Saudi Arabia show. We've got some of those matches that were just. And I think people like what they don't have. If you get less Sting, it's automatically going to be worth more than more Bill Goldberg.
Yeah.
And Sting was iconic, but Goldberg did the streak and all the other stuff, and I'm happy to see them both back. But the Sting thing to me draws my attention more because I've gotten less Sting over the years.
Listen, I'm not disagreeing with you at all. I'm saying, but I don't have the hate for Goldberg coming back and working.
No hate. It's like when I go to my brother's house for Christmas, and I drink bourbon all the time here at the house. But I go to my brother's house, and he wants to show off, and he brings out the $200 bourbon. It's still bourbon, but since it's rare and I don't get it as much, that bourbon tastes a lot better than the stuff I get at the house. Not just because it's more, but you get less of it, and it makes it more special. And I think a lot of times wrestling fans get saturated on things they love to the point they start hating it.
Yeah. Well, we haven't seen Goldberg in a year, so I mean, almost. Yeah. I mean, whatever. But anyway, let's move on. Let's talk about. I know there's some hate there, but let's talk about something that just universally was loved.
Yes.
And what we're going to talk about, obviously, is, we recorded prior to AEW's tribute to Brodie Lee last week, and we wanted to, kind of go over that a little bit. First and foremost, the whole show, pretty much top to bottom. I said something to a friend of ours who's a wrestling fan. If you have anything negative to say about that show, just keep it to yourself.
Yeah, I thought the show was top to bottom amazing. It was so well done, which is their strength, is the really good production, the high quality images, and they captured the emotion of all the wrestlers that they had back. I mean, how did it? Never been a Jon Moxley fan, but they started out with that promo of his, and I was teared up. Hardly even got the show started good. They were able to draw emotions out. I know they were just doing their tributes, but I felt everything they did. I thought the show balanced really well. I'm not I love the Young Bucks guy, but I still watched every single match on that card and thought everything was great. They did a really good job. We got to see people we know in very high on the card positions. Cody Vance, super nice guy. He was Brodie Lee's son's favorite wrestler. I thought that was amazing to see that. Anna Jay is still improving more than anyone I've ever seen. She looked phenomenal in that match she had. Alan Angels was next to Brodie's son all through the show. I think that was just so cool seeing that. Great work, guys. Great work. Top to bottom on that show.
I agree with you, man. And the crazy part of it, is just like you said, all of the promos and all of the the tributes. I mean, we've heard now that FTR is changing the name of their move to Big Rig, their finisher. At the with permission of Brodie's wife to kind of pay tribute to him going forward. Just like you said, the promos and the matches, everything was drawing the emotion. You kind of felt bad for NXT because they still had to put on a show.
Yeah, and that's Brodie was popular in the WWE. He had lots of friends there, and that brings to me what his wife said, and what his wife said was so important.
Yeah, I'm not going to read it, but it was something we wanted to talk about. Take a minute if you want to read it. Go ahead. I mean, we're going to paraphrase all of this. It's up on the screen if you're watching us on Facebook. I mean, the long and the short of it is like, her family, they don't hate WWE. There's like, don't try to divide, or creating a divide between wrestling. I mean, Brodie, had friends like Cesaro and Big E and, obviously Xavier, and on and on. I mean, you saw Bray Wyatt's tribute. I mean, there's tons of people in WWE that poured out on social media, for him. I mean, but, and even acknowledging the fact that WWE gave him an opportunity to live out, tons of his dreams, check lots of things off of his, dream life boxes or whatever, you want to call it. That, the WWE helped provide for his family for years, while he was with the company as well. And it was just kind of one of those where we discussed it and we were saying like, hey, listen, people grieve differently. It is what it is. But don't make it a division. There should not be any division based off of this. Because clearly his wife knows what he would want, and she's saying this isn't what he would want.
No, he didn't divide wrestling up like that. Wrestling was something special to him. I think it's meant a lot to us over the years. There are times where it's been the only thing that kept us going through certain parts of our lives. Folks, she said something incredibly important in this, and right there towards the end, please, I beg you, stop trying to create a divide in wrestling. Support pro wrestling. Love pro wrestling. And I think that's, if we take nothing else out of what happened last Wednesday night, that statement right there is powerful.
Right.
And I'm going to work harder to really pay attention and treat all pro wrestling better after hearing that.
Yeah, we started that trend last week that we were kind of trying to be more positive, and we were going to try to be more, promotion versus tearing down and negative. Listen, there's times where we're going to constructively criticize things. Absolutely. I mean, but, we're not going to be like, it's not a haters, market or whatever.
No.
But, the one thing before we move on, I just, the thing that, listen, we talked about it last week a little bit. The thing that was just the most touching part of it all is that all of the stories that you hear, like, it was the main thing that you heard. It wasn't about how he, obviously people thought he was a great wrestler or a good wrestler, whatever. That's not the issue. The issue that everybody talked about was how great of a dad he was, how great of a husband he was, how great of a friend he was, that type of stuff. And we always say like that's the kind of stuff that people lose sight of. Like, would you rather be, and I know some people are going to have a smart answer to this. Do you want to be known as the greatest wrestler of all time? Or do you want to be known as the best father, the best husband, the best family guy? And there's times, if you ever listen to Ric Flair talk, I think he would tell you that answer. He wished it was the other way around.
Yeah. So, and we can identify with that because we're both fathers.
Yeah.
And it's a tough job. And this man loved that more than anything else. He loved his kids. He loved his wife. And he made a great impression on everyone he touched. And you don't hear that about people these days. There's always somebody to say something bad about you. But this man, apparently, I never met him, but I wish I would have.
Yeah, absolutely. But hey, man, let's turn it around a little bit. Let's keep it moving. We're going to move in. We're going to discuss a little something. Some numbers came out for NXT and for AEW. We're talking about the whole division thing, and here's really a key piece of the cog of where that happens. But I got some numbers that I wanted to pull out and, kind of say, hey, listen, we've gone through our first calendar year. Listen, granted it was COVID, whatever.
God, what a year.
It was what it was. It was the first calendar year. We had both shows in their homes, in their time slots to move every now and then with basketball, etc. But here's so the Brodie Lee episode, the tribute episode, 977,000, up from 775, which goes back to why I said I just felt bad for NXT. Listen, I usually am a flipper. I completely did not watch NXT. I watched AEW all the way through and went back and watched NXT after. But that kind of would show you, listen, if you're a wrestling fan, I'm not saying if you're a wrestling fan, you watched AEW instead, but if you were a diehard wrestling fan, you were kind of curious to see what they were going to do. And I think that's what the rating, the viewership, whatever you want to call it, kind of showed that. But here's kind of the trend I was trying to look at. So throughout 2020, Dynamite averaged 810,755, per episode. They had 42.97 million watch. That's if you accumulate up all of the episodes all year, whatever. They averaged 903,000 in 2019, but there were only 12 episodes, by the way, and of course they had just launched, so it was kind of a hot, this. I think the barometer. We remember we had this conversation when they launched. We needed a big sample before we kind of had. Yeah. This is where you are. And I think the average of over the year of the 810,000, let's call it 811, just so I can stop saying the longer number. That's where they are. Like, that's their average. So you're going to have weeks when you see a 977, above average, and so forth and so on. Mm. So what's the contrast? So, of course, listen, NXT did 586,000, like I said, up against that Brodie Lee tribute. I made a comment to somebody, if you're remotely even worried about viewership and ratings last week, you've lost touch, because it had nothing to do. Unfortunately, NXT had to put a show on USA. I almost wish that there was a way that they were like, go watch their show instead. We're not going to run tonight. It's not going to happen, but it would have been cool, Yeah,
you have TV contracts.
Yeah, exactly. So the week prior they did 698, so they were down like 100,000 viewers, which makes about sense. They averaged 698,000 roughly through 2020. They averaged 785 in 2019 over 13 episodes. So we figured it out, folks. By the way, it's just so you want a curiosity. Dynamite was down about 10.5%, 10.3, I think is what the number we had, and NXT was down about 11. So pretty much the same from 2019.
In a year where at the start of 2020 the NFL was scrambling because of bad ratings, it took the playoffs basically to get the NFL back to where they were. All professional sports have hurt this year. The crowdless things, the different challenges with COVID, quarantines. Look at the college football here. Jesus Christ, what a mess it's been. The fact that they were able to sustain that kind of viewership for both shows during this time period is amazing.
Yeah.
Raw ratings are down dramatically. Lowest Raws ever. So, look what they had to do.
If the crowds were down, as far as the viewership period overall, and you're still splitting it with Monday Night Football, etc., whatever. Look, we were just kind of showing you as, I think, across the board, 10%. Now, if you do 10% down and Raw was doing 2 million, that's 200,000, about 1.7, 1.8, somewhere in that range. I know they did that low 1.5. They're probably about average too. That 1.8 range would be about where you expect, about a 10 or 11% down. Overall, give or take. That's kind of where we're
business for AEW. Very good numbers.
Oh yeah.
First year on cable television for NXT, very good numbers. Consistency is where you build your advertising. People want to know how much you do every show. They don't want to see this up, this. They want to see that number, what you average, because that's how they buy ads, based on your average viewership. So I think this was a really good show by both companies.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Both of them good, and hopefully more, more awards and more, things coming out of it down in the future. Speaking of awards, I know Impact had their awards, and we wanted to bring those up, talk about those a little bit. I've got them in front of me. I'm going to work my way backwards. So moment of the year and match of the year kind of happened at the same place. Let's call it, I know they call it moment of the year, Slammiversary 2020. Match of the year was Eric Young, Rich Swann, Eddie Edwards, and Ace Austin and Trey McGill at Slammiversary. I know that was one of your favorite pay-per-views for the year.
I really enjoyed that. I bought that show straight up, not on the Impact Network, Impact Plus, and enjoyed it and started watching. I've seen every pay-per-view they've done since then. I've watched their show religiously, except for the 2 weeks over Christmas when there were just replay shows. And sorry, I was sick and not up for that. I'm looking forward to, as we record on Tuesday, tonight's show. It's been an interesting program. I look forward to reporting on Impact Plus as soon as I figure out how to use it.
I do hear that's the biggest knock on it. It's a little clunky, a little difficult. Maybe if they get that fixed and worked out, I think that's. Listen, in this day and age, interface is everything.
Yes.
I mean, listen, I first want to tell you, I thought WWE had a great interface, no matter what system I've used it on, whether it be with an Apple TV or with a whatever, Roku, Fire Sticks, doesn't matter. Some people have complained about how difficult it is to use, and I'm like, I guess, if you say so.
I think YouTube sets the standard for that kind of thing. As far as there's the videos in front of you. If you want to look something, just look it up, type it in, we'll show you the videos. And any format like that is going to be totally successful.
Okay. So. X Division Star of the Year, Ace Austin. Good choice.
Pretty good choice. I might have gone with Rohit Raju on that one, but it was a good choice.
Yeah. That was, I think, when we discussed it, that was literally the only one we kind of went back. I think the other two, or the other three, it's funny I said two for a reason. Tag Team of the Year, the North, is a no-brainer.
Yeah, great year for them. Phenomenal year. And they've got a really good tag team division forming in there now.
Yeah. So. I think I couldn't think of another team that deserved it more. They had that basically the longest run there with those tag titles out of anybody.
And if Ethan Page, he's a free agent, talking about jumping AEW now. Wherever he goes, he's going to be successful. I mean, we remember seeing him in Atlanta in a little bitty tiny building when he did that crazy match with ACH. I was like, God, this guy's got charisma.
Yeah.
So,
Knockout of the Year and Wrestler of the Year, believe it or not, was the same person. This is the only one. Deonna Purrazzo. We both, when we saw this, Knockout was pretty easy. I did waffle and say, hey, maybe Jordynne Grace, but in the end, no. But we were not stunned by either of these picks.
No, it was both terrific picks. Deonna Purrazzo really, really brought a lot to the women's division, or the Knockouts division, as they call it. I'm still trying to make up my mind how I feel about that designation. But drama, quality matches. That 30-minute Iron Man match was phenomenal with Jordynne Grace. Deonna Purrazzo worked matches, just some of the best matches I've seen in years as far as women's matches goes. Very good job. They set that division apart as one of the best women's divisions in all of professional wrestling. So, and that helped the company. It elevated the company, and I think that's why she got Wrestler of the Year too.
Oh, absolutely.
Especially after the problems they had with Tessa Blanchard and all that. So
it was good to have a professional, stable.
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with you. So Impact, good year for them. Great ending of the year for them.
Yes.
With all the momentum they've got coming, great things.
Kenny Omega is going to be on the next show.
Yep.
The next big pay-per-view. Think about that, guys. Kenny Omega, Don Callis, the AEW crossover. Probably, if I had to pick, if we just, from last year, if we picked something that was the most important event, it would, for wrestling as a whole, it would be the Impact AEW crossover, in my opinion.
Could be. And if you're a diehard Impact fan, and you want even more, we pepper it in as much as we can, with the format, obviously. Check out the Impact Lounge, friend of the show, BQ.
Oh, he does a great job.
Yeah, absolutely. Lewis Carlin used to be on our network. He's doing some stuff shooting up north. Check out his stuff as well. Both of them do a great job, promoting Impact. Check them out again over at the Impact Lounge. I checked them out. I believe their heavy presence is on YouTube. And check them out. And then, of course, last but not least, before we roll into some Georgia wrestling history, New Japan, it's, obviously that time of year where they get a lot of pub, but they're getting a little bit of extra pub right now because of something that's been announced. So on night one, like basically during Wrestle Kingdom 15, that's their big, huge 2-night event. Company made a major announcement, basically said the TV deals for the United States and the UK are coming. Now, why is that such a huge deal? Well, it's real simple, folks. They haven't been in the U.S. in a while. They've never been in the United Kingdom on a TV deal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a pretty big deal.
The UK is full of wrestling fans. They have a very strong wrestling tradition over there and into Europe. And they're running their big shows right now. The shows that run late at night when nobody besides your diehard fan stays up and watches them. And you have to watch them on New Japan Network, and you have to do this or whatever it is. But did I know that was coming until somebody said something on social media or somebody was posting? No, because they haven't had American TV. If you don't have American TV, you lose influence. It has to be out. Americans, God forbid, we're short memory people. You have to keep putting that stuff out in front of us. So if you want this stuff to be successful, it's got to be had in front of us all the time. You have to have an American TV deal. And this is huge for them. Not being on American TV has lost a lot for them. So this is going to be big going forward.
Right. I mean, we were bringing up the point of, like, listen, we obviously, like, I mean, I knew Wrestle Kingdom's happening. It wasn't like that. But you do have there's, especially in our country, it's out of sight, out of mind. I mean, we joke about, like, oh, when AEW or, WWE, they browbeat you that the pay-per-view's coming up or whatever. Well, yeah, because they don't want you to forget. If you don't, we're like kids. If you don't tell your kids something over and over and over, we forget. That's just the way that we are.
I'm getting old. I forget all this stuff all the time.
So for that argument alone, I mean, when we talk about it, is yes. I mean, if you don't have any television, it snuck up on me. I know it's happening, folks. I know what the dates it happens. But then all of a sudden you're like, oh crap, that's like in 2 days, or that's in a week, or that's tomorrow. That's my favorite one. Like, or oh crap, that's tonight.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't planned to stay up all night tonight. And there's always something important happens, like the whole thing with Jay White and all the other rumors coming out of it. It's always a lot goes on over there during the Wrestle Kingdom that makes waves all around the world.
Listen, it almost without fail, there's always tons of title changes that happen, which there was. We're not going to spoil them because of our Patreon members, it would have just happened. So if they're still trying to watch them, so this is going to sound odd, I know. Because a lot of our diehards are probably trying to catch up with it for the next couple days, because those shows are so long.
Yes.
But anyway, like I said, coming back to the original point, look, I mean, we're hoping it's, Access TV, I know it's a smaller network and that's where Impact is. I honestly wish that's where they went.
I'd love to see wrestling concentrated on Access again. Impact, New Japan, WOW come back, or whatever they're going to do with that. Get us another federation out there. Like a wrestling network. Like a network with a lot of wrestling folks.
Well, now, we had heard rumor, God knows how long, beginning of the year, Viceland maybe was interested in bringing in New Japan or something. But I still, like you, I wish there was a block. Make it Tuesday. It's an hour. Impact run 8 to 10. New Japan from 10 to 11. Whatever, even if it's a 1 hour show, if that's what we're getting. But kudos to them, by the way, for pulling off the UK deal where we talked about it. They've never been there before. So kudos, and hopefully that just brings a whole lot of pub, brings them back to the forefront, because like you said, dude, we just out of sight, out of mind. We just weren't covering it a lot because we weren't seeing it. We weren't, and I'm, like I said, I'm not paying for a network that I'm converting, currencies and things like that to try to figure out,
for a program you don't ever see.
Right. And that's the tough part of it. I know you can watch the show on there and everything, but there's already enough, man. If it's not convenient, we're not going to do it. That's the problem. And I think them getting a TV deal makes it convenient and brings it back to the forefront. So, what are your thoughts on New Japan finally coming back to a US TV deal? Let us know at TappedOutPod, tappedoutpod@gmail.com. Of course, if you're watching us on the Facebook, along with your 73,000 closest friends, comment right down in there about what you think. But time to move on to the local stuff here in the Georgia indie scene. Tons of stuff going on. I mean, the year's wrapped up. Now we're starting the new year. Everybody's firing right out of the gate. This Friday, by the way, is one of the hottest, hottest dates we've had in a long time. But this week's episode of the Georgia Indy Talk is brought to you by our friends up at Southern Honor Wrestling. So check out, they've got a big show this Friday as well. So check it out right here and see what they've got coming up.
Wrestling fans, Southern Honor Wrestling takes the new year to the extreme with SHW 23, January 8th, live at the Action Building in Canton, Georgia. Sunny Days goes one-on-one with Austin Towers in a tables match.
Who can handle the 7-foot giant? The answer is Sunny Days!
Ashton Starr takes on Barry Morales in a Petty Party Rules match.
A new look, a new attitude. It's Ashton Starr, the Prince of Petty.
Plus, your new SHW champion David Ali defends his title against Owen Knight inside a steel cage.
Are you kidding me right now? David Ali is your new Southern Honor champion.
All this and so much more. Tickets on sale starting at 5 p.m. Doors open at 7. Bell time at 8. You do not want to miss this show. SHW. This is our wrestling.
First of all, does anybody make better commercials than Dylan?
I'm telling you, man, if there was a Georgia Wrestling History Award for asset to a wrestling promotion, I think Dylan would win every year. Jesus Christ, Dylan, what a phenomenal job. Thank you.
Absolutely. And what's funny is that's not all the matches, by the way. There are more if you check them out. Go over to Facebook and check them out at Southern Hunter Wrestling. Give them a follow. My thing is 4. I was watching that video and I was like, 4 of the matches they announced, 4 of the talents on that have been on AEW. One of the talents that we know is on the card hasn't been. Oh, he's just been to Japan. And I don't have the whole other card in front of me, but like I said, I mean, dude, lots of people that you've seen on AEW Dark, some that that have traveled overseas to Japan to wrestle are on this card. Pretty, it's a pretty good stacked group of talent that they have up there at Southern Honor Wrestling. So check them out. It's a crowded field. We were talking about that with the potential weather, by the way, rain and snow potentially up in the mountains overnight. That's going to be a whole mess over the week to see how that falls. But you're going to have Southern Honor Wrestling, of course. I'll be there as well. I know you, of course, can't make it because of quarantine. But not too far up the street, KLT's running up in Rome. Pro South will be running just across the Alabama border. Action will be running a little, south of that, down in Tyrone, I guess. And, of course, PCW, Matt Hankins and the Island of Misfit Toys, as I like to call them, are going to be down at PCW running that night as well.
Are always so much fun. I love what he's doing down there. He's going to be a candidate in so many different fields in the Georgia Wrestling History Awards this year, I have a feeling. Southern Honor, guys, I am heartbroken I can't be there. This is going to be a streak for me. But hopefully this will end soon and the sniffing season will end and I'll be able to record one of these shows without snorting, sniffing, and coughing, and sucking on cough drops. It's that winter for us, folks. It happens. KLT's got that big benefit show for Fantasy and her health issues recently. Pro South, something I really would like to go see sometime. PCW, Action's always got a hot buzz. I don't think you're going to find another state in the country that's going to have 5 shows that are this big a deal in one night. And then there's the rest of the weekend, too.
And here's the crazy thing. Not only are there 5 shows that are running, there's 5 good shows that are running, and here's the thing. It's a smorgasbord of what you got.
Yeah.
Every show when you look at them kind of has a different, it's a different flavor of wrestling.
Mm-hmm.
Action is bell to bell. It's the best action that you're going to, it's the best ring action, wrestling you're going to see. PCW, it ain't your daddy's wrestling. That's all I'm going to tell you, folks. If you've never been, you should check it out. Yes. PCW is just entertainment at a whole different level. Pro South, listen, it's a learning tree is what I try to tell people.
Yeah.
It's where guys go and they're honing their craft. But you know what comes? There's some guys there that are teaching those kids on top of it. Ace is over there doing what he does to teach those kids. Huck's over there teaching those kids. But then you got guys like Tyler Culprit. Joe Black obviously was there before his injury. There's Hanson's there, so forth and so on. I mean, so it's kind of a great mixture of it. There's a lot of young talent, but then there's some old school guys there teaching them, which is awesome. KLT is just Southern wrestling. I hate to tell people that.
Yeah.
That is what it is.
Apparently, Leonardo DiCaprio wrestles there too.
Apparently so, per Larry Goodman. And then, of course, I mean, listen, this is gonna make some people angry. If you want to see the best, you head over to Canton. Southern Honor Wrestling. Nobody does the production, nobody does the show, nobody does it like Southern Honor.
No actors from Titanic.
Exactly. It is what it is, folks. I mean, that's just my take. Like it or don't like it, I'm sorry. That's just, but the crazy thing is from my, there's not, if you pick any of these 5 shows and you pick them for the right reasons, you're going to go home entertained.
Yeah.
Again, what you said, how many other states, do you go on a Friday night, you can go see 5 shows and you're going to be happy.
Yeah.
So that's just our take. That it is what it is.
We're in a good spot, man. Wrestling in Georgia has come back pretty strong. I tried to avoid going to matches so I wouldn't get COVID, and I got it anyway. But I'm not going to wrestling shows. So I think I had a little false logic there, folks. We're going to get through this, and this wrestling is going to come back. We're going to see more stuff. We're going to see, as the vaccines and whatever roll out and people get over this and we get past it, we're going to see some great wrestling in 2021, especially in Georgia and in the Southeast. And once again, Georgia wrestling is going to be one of the best states in the country for that.
You said it. Like, look, is Georgia wrestling where it was pre-COVID? No, it's not. But that's doesn't mean, are the crowds where they are? No, I don't think anybody's crowds are where they
For anything.
Yeah. So, but just kind of, get on, just listen, if you don't feel safe, don't go. If you do, you want to wear your mask, the socially distance, awesome. Go do your thing and, go support them if you want to. It is what it is.
Here's the thing. If you start drawing super huge crowds, they're just going to shut you down anyway.
Could be the case. You never know. But, support wrestling, support us simply by, guys, subscribe, whether it be anywhere you listen to your podcast, whether it's Apple Podcasts, iHeartMedia, Spotify, Amazon Music, listen, like I said, anywhere that there is a podcast, the host or whatever, we're there. Subscribe, give us a 5-star rating and review. We would greatly appreciate it. Of course, Facebook, we're always there. You can watch us there. That seems to be, the home of where everything seems to be taking off. So we appreciate all the Facebook watchers. Comment, like, and share there as well. Follow the page. Give us a little follow there. We greatly appreciate it. And as always, we want to thank our Patreon members for all of their support as well. Anything else from you, man?
I got a couple of things. I really wanted to shout out to Tony Khan for being able to put that show together and come out there and pay such a tribute. That kid standing in the ring with that belt tore me up. It was a great show. It was a real class move of him buying the rights to that song so that it would always be part of the Brodie Lee tribute. And all I'll really finish with is, once again, what Brodie Lee's wife said: please, I beg you, stop trying to create a divide in wrestling. Support pro wrestling, love pro wrestling. You're not watching this show unless you love pro wrestling, because even my family doesn't watch. It's wrestling fans and people like you that have built the show. And let's listen to her. I think she's got a really good point.
Agreed. So,
but that's all I got, man.
Well, if that's all you got, man, what's the old saying, brother? If I've got nothing, you've got nothing. What time is it?
It's time to tap out.